Hello and welcome to today's video where we will be discussing data types in Python. So Python is a dynamically typed language, which means that it can infer the data type of the variable based on the value that you assign to it. There's several data types in Python and we'll be discussing each one of those in detail. So first of all, let's get started. I'm going to open up VS Code because that's my IDE of choice, but you can choose whichever one you are comfortable with. Give it a second to open up. There we go. I have kept it zoomed in so you can see everything. It's just loading up. Give it a second. There we go. So I am going to just create a new file. I'm going to create a Python file and I'm going to save it as, where is it? There we go. Save it on my desktop. I'm going to save it as datatypes.py. There we go. I'm just going to close this down a little bit. There we go. And then I'm just going to do a print hello world just to check that it's spelled completely wrong, but just to check that my interpreter is working. So run Python in file. Yeah, perfect, working, happy with that. So we're going to start with integers first. Now, if you have been following the series along, you will have already met integers. So integers are whole numbers. In Python, you can assign an integer to a whole number basically, but you can assign them to a value, and we're going to do that using a variable. So again, if you've been following the whole thing through, then you will know. I want that to go. Anyway. Okay, so integers. I'm going to create a variable, and if you've been following this through, you will have seen variables. So I'm going to go x is my variable, and I'm going to set it to the value of 42. Now, what should happen when I print x is that 42 should appear on my screen. So let's go to run Python, 42. Now, if I set x to 42.7, for example, and run Python file, it will still print it even though it is a whole number. Now, this is fine, but the correct practice and the practice you should be doing is you should be using a float. So the data type has now changed from an integer to a float. Now, we're really lucky with Python because we do not have to tell it exactly what data type we're using. If we're doing Java, for example, and this file will not like Java, but if we're doing Java, we have to do int x equals 56, and obviously you've got that. And then we do float y equals 78.9. So in Java, because it's strongly typed, we have to basically tell it what value or what data type we're using. But in Python, we're really lucky because it does it for us. So it already accepts that whatever we're going to type in, it will automatically know what to generate it to. So with a float, which is what this value is, it's a decimal number. I like to call it as money values. So it's a monetary value. There is a point to it, as in like 42.7 would be £42.70p. And you can assign a float to it, which looks exactly like this. So now we've had a go at doing floats and strings. In Python, if we do y equals 89, we can still do our x plus y. There we go. And it will still add them together. So it won't take into consideration, like Java does, the fact that you can't, and even C#, that you can't add a string, a integer and a float together because it just doesn't work, it doesn't gel. So Python will allow you to not specify your data type, and it will also allow you to add, multiply, subtract, divide, any operation you can think of in multiple data types. So now we've looked at the main numbers. Let's have a look at the strings. So the strings are a sequence of characters. So in Python, you can assign a string value to a variable just like this. So let's do name equals John Doe. Okay. Now it's in a string, so it has to be in a quotation marks. It doesn't matter which quotation marks you do, whether you do double or single, as long as you choose one and stick to it. So don't start using the double at the start and then you end it on a single because it won't work. So if we print name like that, it will print John Doe to the screen. Okay, so with strings, we have to encapsulate them in quotation marks, single or double, and then we can print the value to the screen. So the next data type that we're going to have a look at is called Boolean. So a Boolean is a data type that either has a true or a false value. So you can assign a Boolean to Python, I've got Java on the brain, to Python, but it must have a true or a false answer to your question. So I could put, let's do is student true. So if we print is student, it should come out true. True. Now if we start putting is student and then we put yes, it doesn't accept that. It doesn't like that. It says it's not defined. So therefore we have to stick with what Python uses, and that is true or false. Now notice the capital letters on true and false. Make sure you use them. If you don't, you get an error stating that false is not being defined. So make sure you use a capital. There we go. So if we print that one out, it should come out as false this time. There we go. Perfect. So the next data type, and there's not that many left to be fair, is a list. Now you will have come across a list if you've been following the course, but if not, a list is just an ordered collection of values. So in Python you create a list just like this. Let's create a list of numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's do 6. And then if I ask it to print numbers, it will print all of my list. Okay, so we've created a number of integers from 1 to 6. We've assigned it to the variable numbers. We then printed it out to the screen and we got the output of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we can use lists for other things as well. We can use it for strings. So we can do Josh, Sophie, and I don't know, Jack. Why not? There we go. And we can change it to names. And we can ask it to print names. And this time, it will print all the names out for us. So we can change the data type of a list no matter how many times we want to. And then the final one we're going to look at is tuples. These are similar to lists, but they're immutable. So this means that their values cannot be changed once they're created. So with lists, you can use Python code to add and change and delete elements from your list without actually going into the hard code of it. However, in tuples, you can't. Once it's been created, it's been created. So let's create one then. So let's stick with the names. The only difference, actually no, let's do it completely. Let's do fruits equals, and this time we are going to use curly braces, and I'm going to have apple, then I'm going to have banana. What can we spell banana? Banana. Still need to double check that every time. Then let's have, I don't know, orange. And then if we print fruits, it will print them all to the screen just like that. So the last one that we have is a dictionary. Now a dictionary is slightly different, so it's an unordered collection of key value pairs. So this might be someone's name and their age, it might be someone's name and their job, it might be a shopping list and a fruit such as an apple and the number of the apples that you want to get. So we're going to have a go at creating that dictionary. So the way we do this is we first of all, let's do person. So we're going to look at a person. We open up the curly braces. We then open up these speech marks, and then I'm going to type the word name in. And after name, so after we've come out of the speech marks, let me go across, I'm going to put a colon, and then I'm going to put speech marks again, John Doe. Then I'm going to come out of my speech marks, and I'm going to put a comma. And I'm going to say that his age, like that, Yeah, that should work. I'm just looking at that error. Age, like that. And I'm going to set that to 30. Now, we don't need speech marks when we've got values, only when we have a string. And I'm going to put is student, and then that would equal to true. Like that. And then let us print, oh, I forgot my equal sign. And then let us print person. And there we go. It's printed his name out. Is John Doe. His age is 30. And is he a student? Yes, he is. So here we've created a dictionary with keys, name, age, and is student, and assigned it to the variable person. We've then printed it out, and we've got the entire element of that list. So all of those are the basic and main elements of data types in Python. So we've looked at integers, we've looked at floats, we've looked at strings, we've also looked at Booleans, and then we looked at lists and tuples, and then finally dictionaries. So you've now got a basic understanding of data types. Thank you for watching and happy coding.